Hello my soccer universe, for a quick review of all the midweek action. A midweek where only La Liga had a full round, and that one was more or less only in preparation for the Copa del Rey final, but there was a huge result for Celta Vigo in there over Villarreal, which might have some implications for the Champions League spots as well. We have a cup final in Portugal set. We had a few games in the Eredivisie already preponed, if you would like, and we also had a massive win for Manchester City, who now look very likely to return to the Champions League, and with a little makeup game in France where we will start. Tuesday evening with a makeup game in Ligue 1 where Nantes managed 1-1 against already champions PSG, who keep their unbeaten streak in the league alive and also extend their record for unbeaten games away from home. It was Vitinha who gave the Parisians the lead in the 33rd minute. However, in the 83rd minute, Douglas Augusto gets for Nantes the much celebrated equalizer. On Tuesday evening, City got a massive 2-1 home win over Aston Villa, putting them now in pole position to qualify for the Champions League among this chasing pack of the top two, and more or less knocking Villa also out of that running, despite Villa being in really good form. The game started actually quite excitingly with Rashford hitting the post within 20 seconds. However, Bernardo Silva then gave City the lead in the 7th minute, City creating more chances. However, a penalty was given away and Rashford converts in the 18th minute. City though were pressuring for that winning goal, but Villa kept more or less tight. This game had quite some needle to it as well, and just when you thought it will end in a 1-1 draw, there's a pass through the box by Doku, and on the other end of the box, Mateus Nunes is absolutely forgotten and gets City the much celebrated. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, Arsenal and Palace played a rather entertaining 2-2 draw, a draw that just about does not make Liverpool champions. They just need a single point on the weekend against Spurs. However, that draw by Palace really helped them a whole lot in that regard. The game was entertaining, as I said. Kiwior opened the scoring by heading in an Ødegaard free kick, beautifully executed free kick with all the blocking in there. However, Wharton corner kick is then half volleyed by Eze into the net. I mean, it makes a bounce and it goes wide inside the net. It was a really nicely taken goal. Not so much Trossard's go-ahead goal in the 42nd minute that had quite some deflection on it. Arsenal again on top, but Palace were really well in the game, especially in the second half, pushing for the equalizer. But Arsenal also had their chances. They had a goal by Martinelli disallowed. There was a great save by Henderson in there as well. In the end, it's Mateta who gets the equalizer for Palace after catching out Raya, who was wandering out of the edge of the box and beautifully chipping it and via the inside of the crossbar into the net. And then Palace even had the chance to win it. Benfica and Sporting are not only duking it out for the league title with a massive game coming up mid-May. Towards the end of the month, they also face each other in the cup final of the Taça de Portugal. Sporting secured their passage to the final with a 2-1 away win, adding to the 2-0 home win in the first leg, with Inácio and Gyökeres scoring 2 goals to open up a 2-goal lead in the 50th minute, Andre Luiz pulling one back late on. Meanwhile, Benfica already enjoyed a 5-0 lead over 4th tier Trizense, and add to that with a 4-0 home win, cruising to the final. Round 30 in the Eredivisie started already on Wednesday and will finish on Sunday. It started with Groningen beating Heracles emphatically 4-1 at home. And then on Thursday, AZ, who are really hitting the skids, were 1-0 down to NAC Breda, who are in relegation trouble. Sauer scoring that goal in the 75th minute. However, Meerdink equalizes in a really spectacular fashion in the 97th minute. Maybe a little bit of a break for Alkmaar. But most importantly, PSV cut the lead of Ajax on top of the table down to 6 points, although being down in the first minute at 20 through Van Wolfswinkel. Perisic, however, equalizing in the 11th minute, and Hustil and Luc de Jong, 53rd, 57th, make it a win for PSV, who just keep their chance of defending the title just about alive. Ahead of meeting in the much anticipated Copa del Rey final on Saturday, both Barcelona and Madrid got narrow 1-0 wins in preparation for that, however of very differing quality. Barcelona won through an Olmo goal, however had 40 shots onto Mallorca's goal. However, the goalkeeper ran hot and saw only a single goal. At least they got one past, and at that point extended the lead again to 7 points. However, Madrid went to Getafe, scored in the first half through Arda Güler, looked actually overall alright, with also Endrick missing a pretty big chance. However, in the second half, Real Madrid allowed Getafe the highest XG against them away from home. Given that this is Getafe we're talking about, this is absolutely a massive statistic, I gotta say. And so Madrid not looking quite right. Maybe it's all in preparation for the Copa del Rey final. We'd have to see. Another huge result was Celta Vigo beating Villarreal 3-0 at home. This is Celta, who lost very unluckily twice in a row in Barcelona. This time they were helped by an early red card for Bailly in the 37th minute, and then Lopez, Borja Iglesias and a late Aspas penalty secured a rather emphatic win. A win that puts Celta now very much on track for a European spot, and also allows Betis, who then were 5-1 winners at home against Valladolid, to potentially snatch 5th spot from Villarreal, who still have a game in hand. Other results: Valencia and Espanyol play out a 1-1 draw. Given that both teams have been in good form as of late, this was kind of a logical conclusion. Athletic Club narrow 1-0 win over Las Palmas. Alaves leapfrog Las Palmas with a 1-0 over Real Sociedad, with Alguacil being all but confirmed of leaving Real Sociedad at the end of the season. We had Leganés and Girona playing out 1-1, a draw that probably keeps Girona just about safe, but they're still hanging very dangerously at the edge of the relegation zone. Osasuna beat Sevilla at home 1-0. What I said for Girona is in parts also true for Sevilla, however they have 2 points more. And Atletico Madrid get a 3-0 home win over Rayo, so finally they can get a win again. So that concludes this little journey through Europe once again. Please let me know your thoughts on all these results. I actually think that in Portugal, especially in Lisbon, it will get really hot with both of these two Lisbon giants meeting now, not only in the penultimate round of the league, but also in the cup final, which will be played in the National Stadium, which is kind of a smaller one. So a really, really interesting setting. That much is for certain. But also in the Premier League, we will have an FA Cup coming up. That's why we had those games already in the midweek. Liverpool might win the title on the weekend as well, but it is really all about the top 5 race, where City now enjoy definitely a big advantage. In any case, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like these. And I'll talk to you soon about more things in my soccer universe. Bye! Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, here are some videos and playlists that you may enjoy too. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the little bell icon so you get notified whenever something happens in my soccer universe. And with that, have a wonderful day. Bye!